Predicting an exact timeline for when Black people will achieve real equality in America is challenging due to the complex and multifaceted nature of systemic racism and inequality. Achieving true equality requires addressing deeply rooted issues and systemic barriers across various aspects of society, including education, wealth, employment, healthcare, and criminal justice. While progress has been made over time, significant disparities and injustices persist, and there is still much work to be done. The timeline for achieving real equality depends on a multitude of factors, including policy changes, social movements, cultural shifts, and individual actions. Efforts to address systemic racism and promote equality require sustained commitment, collective action, and ongoing advocacy from individuals, communities, institutions, and governments. It's essential to continue working towards this goal and to remain vigilant in challenging injustice and inequality wherever it exists. While achieving real equality may not happen overnight, progress can be made through persistent efforts to dismantle systemic barriers, promote equity and inclusion, and create a more just and equitable society for all individuals, regardless of race or ethnicity. By continuing to advocate for social justice and equality, meaningful change can be achieved over time, even if the timeline is uncertain. Black people in America do not have real equality due to systemic racism, historical injustices, and ongoing disparities across various aspects of society. Here are some key reasons. Systemic racism. Structural and institutional racism pervades many aspects of American society, including education, employment, healthcare, housing, and criminal justice. These systems and structures perpetuate inequality and discrimination against Black individuals and communities. Historical injustices. Centuries of slavery, segregation, and discrimination have left lasting legacies that continue to impact Black Americans today. While legal segregation has ended, the effects of past injustices persist in areas such as wealth accumulation, education, and access to opportunities. Economic disparities. Black Americans face significant economic disparities, including lower wages, higher rates of unemployment, and a persistent racial wealth gap. Historical and ongoing discrimination in employment, housing, and lending practices contribute to these disparities. Healthcare disparities. Black Americans experience disparities in healthcare access, quality of care, and health outcomes compared to white Americans. These disparities are driven by factors such as limited access to healthcare services, racial bias in medical treatment, and socioeconomic barriers. Criminal justice system. Black Americans are disproportionately impacted by the criminal justice system, facing higher rates of arrest, incarceration, and police violence compared to white Americans. Racial bias and systemic inequalities within the criminal justice system contribute to these disparities. Educational inequities. Black students often attend underfunded schools with fewer resources and opportunities compared to their white counterparts. They also face higher rates of disciplinary action and lower academic achievement, perpetuating cycles of inequality. Political underrepresentation. While there have been gains in political representation, Black Americans are still underrepresented in positions of power and decision-making roles. Voter suppression tactics and barriers to political participation further marginalize Black voices in the political process. Addressing these inequalities requires comprehensive efforts to dismantle systemic racism, promote equity and inclusion, and create opportunities for all individuals to thrive. It also requires acknowledging and confronting the historical and ongoing injustices that continue to shape the experiences of Black Americans in America.